I'd like to emphasize before we get started into the details of understanding your lease that this is an important process. This is a legal process, and it shouldn't be rushed. Sometimes they use like a sales tactic, and it's called a pressure tactic in sales, that they tell you, they're sitting there watching you as you're trying to read the lease. Or they, say you've only got a couple minutes, or you've only got an hour, or whatever. Those are all pressure tactics. And, when you're signing a legal document, don't fall for them. Honestly, if that's the way they're treating you up front, you might want to even consider whether you even want to live there. I've even seen situations where one young lady, she got her lease document as an electronic document. So they send it to her in an email or a link, and it had a countdown timer at the top that literally it counted down from 30 minutes from the time that she opened the document for her to read it and sign off on it. Now, luckily, she didn't fall for that pressure tactic at the end of 30 minutes when she wasn't done doing it or reading through it. She went to the rental office and got a copy of it. And when she finished reading through it, then she made her decision about the apartment that she was looking at. So, this shouldn't be a used car salesperson type experience. Take your time, understand what you're signing, because whatever you sign up for, you're going to have to live with for the term of that contract, which is actually getting us into action number 1, which is understanding the seriousness of a legal contract. This is a legal contract, the agreement and any addendums that they have to it. And once you sign it, you are required to live with it or live with the consequences of breaking it, regardless of whether you liked it or didn't like it. This is one of those things that really, it's not figure it out, sign it and then figure it out. It's figure it out before you sign it and choose whether you want to sign it. Because if you do end up breaking it, the consequences of it is going to follow you for a long time. It's going to affect, potentially your future income. It's going to affect your credit score. It might affect whether you can get another apartment if you move out of this one. It will affect, whether you can get loans and everything, because it'll affect your credit score. It's not a minor decision. So please make sure that you understand your agreement before you ever sign it. If you take it to the extreme, they can kick you out for breaking the lease, and you might still have to pay the rent for the rest of the term of the lease, even though you're not living there anymore. And these leases, I'll give you the heads up, they're very biased towards the property owner or whoever owns the apartment, house, whatever you're trying to rent. So just be careful and think about you before you go into this process. Number 2, read the lease, please. Take adequate time, read it through, understand it, really know what you're getting into, because that is what is going to guide however long you're there, whether you have a 1-year lease or 6 months or, even longer. This is the background information for all of that. So you really need to understand what you're signing up for before you sign it. And getting into the details of that is these are a lot of the things that should be covered in your lease. And I know this list is long, so I please ask you to pay attention real quick. So your rent payments, how much do you owe? When are they due? How do you need to deliver them? Is it a check? Is it an electronic website? Do you have to have a cashier's check? How was it made? If you miss the deadline, how soon can they evict you? All of that should be covered in your lease. Your security deposit. How much additional money in addition to the rent do you need to put down prior to moving in? And most places do have a security deposit that is either refundable, which means you get it back at the end of the lease, assuming you haven't trashed the place, or non-refundable, which means it's basically an upfront payment of future rent. So it really increases your rent, sort of, but I try to avoid the non-refundable ones. Your length of your lease. Is it a year? Is it 15 months? Is it 6 months? Is it a 30-day? Either one of you can end the lease within a 30 days notice. Should be covered. Roommates. Can you have them? Can you add them on afterwards? What happens if, you have a falling out with your roommate? What happens to the lease then? should be covered. Breaking the lease or subleasing. Is there any way that you can get out of the lease if you get a job that's 100 miles away, or you get transferred to another military base if you're part of the military, or you drop out of the college that you're going to and that was the reason that you're renting the place to begin with? Is there a way to stop the lease, or to subleasing is letting it move to somebody else? Pets, are you allowed to have them? How many? How big are they allowed to be? Is there an additional deposit or rent because you have a pet companion? Parking, how many places do you get? Are they assigned? What do you do with visitors? I know one person who had to get a parking pass for her boyfriend every day that he came to visit because unless you had one, they towed your car literally within an hour. Maintenance. How long do they have to fix things that might go wrong in your rental? What do you do if they don't? Bugs and pests. Are you responsible if there's bed bugs in there, or roaches or mice, to get those fixed, or are they responsible for keeping that taken care of? Landlord entry. When is your landlord allowed to enter your apartment, either with notice or without notice? Keys and locks. Were your doors locks changed when before you moved in, or were they rekeyed, or is there a potential that somebody else has a key to your apartment that's still out there? Utilities. Are they included in your rent? Do you pay them through the landlord, or do you need to set them up and pay for them on your own? Insurance. Do you need to have insurance? Rental insurance to cover your things. Some places require liability insurance, which means if somebody gets hurt there, that covers that. Or, even flood insurance in certain locations. Amenities, pools, laundry rooms, that kind of thing. Are they included in the rent? Is there an additional fee? Are you allowed to bring visitors to use them? Smoking. Are you allowed to smoke or vape either inside your rental, or, are there places outside to do it? Should all be covered in your lease. Working from home. Some leases say you cannot run, for example, a little side business out of a rental location. Again, all of these kinds of things should be covered in your lease, which is why it's so important that you read through it and truly understand it. Look it up, research it, talk to other people, whatever you need to do so that you know what you're signing before you ever sign it. Number 4, negotiate any changes that you desire. Now, this could be tough. I'll give you the heads up. Like I said, these leases tend to be biased towards the property owners, and they sort of have them written the way they want to. But if you do manage to negotiate some change to it, make sure it is in writing and that you both sign it as part of the lease, because they can tell you anything they want, but it's not legal unless it's written and signed. After you've managed to go through all that, you're good to go. If you're happy with the lease, you understand it, you understand what you're responsible for doing for the next time period that you're living there, sign the lease. But please be sure to get a copy of the final signed lease. That's the property manager or whoever's representing, who's renting to you, as well as you and any roommates that you might have. Everybody signs, and then get a physical or a PDF copy of that lease so you have it for your records, not only to refer to in the future, but also if you do have an issue, you've got a copy of what was signed on that day, just to keep everybody truthful. And that covers this module on understanding your lease and rental agreement. Like I said, the notes are in the description below. There's a lot of them there, a lot of good information. I hope you refer to them. And there are other modules around renting a place to live, and I recommend that you look at those as well to, fill out your entire process so this whole process is wonderful for you.